there's just endless amounts of stuff that are absolutely horrific that happen within genocides. I had a chance to talk to one of the refugees when we were at a refugee camp, and he's 19 and he's been stuck inside the same refugee camp ever since he was 12 because the Burmese government came in and burned down his entire village and killed his family and shot him. And he ran through the jungle for 3 days and 3 nights without any food until he finally made it to the Thai border where he was able to get across. And he's been in a refugee camp living subhumanly for the rest of his life ever since he was 12. The guy is 19 now and he doesn't know what anything looks like outside of this refugee camp anymore other than what he saw in Burma. And all he ever saw there was his family being murdered. So there's definitely a lot of really sad stories within this nation as well. We had an opportunity to just really bless the Burmese kids because they never get an opportunity to leave this refugee camp. The Thai government will not allow it. They're like, if you leave, you're getting shipped right back to Burma, and if we catch you in here again, you're just going to prison. So they are trapped within these refugee camps and cannot leave whatsoever. And basically, we were able to get them the little go-kart to get outside of the refugee camp for a day. Westerners and such aren't allowed in the refugee camp themselves. So we were able to get some of the student-age kids a little green card to come to a location outside of the refugee camp, and it's the first time they've seen anything outside of the refugee camp for most of them. Some of them, they've grown up in the refugee camp because the genocide's been going on for, I believe, 23 years now, and still ripping the nation apart. And just a lot of them actually were Christians, which was really cool, because one of the main targeted groups over there, however, are the Karenni. And the Karenni are actually a predominantly Christian tribe. And that's one of the reasons why they're targeted so heavily, because they have what they, as they put it, extremist Buddhists like to call a hot target item, because they don't like Christians. They're like, no, you'll screw us up. So basically, I mean, one of the guys on our trip had an opportunity to go into Burma, and he said it was absolutely ridiculous. Just, he said there's people who literally just float in the air. That's not movies. That's literal what happens when you get that far into Buddhism and pretty much sell your soul. I mean, these guys within Burma are completely lost. And so the Burmese definitely have a place in my heart now, even though I didn't have an opportunity to touch the land of Burma, but we were able to go through cross the line into Burma by boat, which was pretty interesting. It was kind of intimidating at the same time, because the second I touched land, I could have very easily stepped on a landmine and died, because they say that's the leading cause of death in a lot of Southeast Asia is landmines, because they're everywhere. Because there's been so many different wars that have happened within there in the past few years, and genocides, and they just set these people up to die. And just having an opportunity to go in there and love on these people again is the main thing that we did. And we had an opportunity to help with the sunflower houses, which are partners that we hooked up with while we were over there and did all our work through, was Pure Heart International, and they're an organization based out of the Hope of Chiang Mai Church. And basically what they do is they set up what's called sunflower houses for the at-risk girls for the sex slave trade, because the main reason why most of the girls that end up in the sex slave industry are there is because they're uneducated and poor. And 90% of them come from what's called the Hill Tribe people, who actually originated in China, but no one really likes them and they keep pushing them. So they've been migrating throughout the years, past 1,000 years or so, from China down into Thailand and being pushed around, and the Thai people won't even consider them to be Thai, even though that's where they've lived. Most of them have grown up in Thailand. They're like, no, they're not even Thai. They're just a bunch of losers. We don't care about them. They're poor. That's their attitude towards these hill tribe people. So a lot of people don't really care about them being in the sex slave trade. So what happened is this organization, Pure Heart International, really just stepped it up and reached out to these people by providing what they call the sunflower houses, which is like a place where they can come live, and they'll feed you, take care of you, whatnot, while you get an education at a college or whatever, and they pay for it. So that way you're educated and you have an opportunity, you know English, which is a big thing there, as I said. So basically, if you know English, that's a ticket to a job over there, because there's a lot of tourism there. So a lot of people are saying, okay, well, I want to learn English so that way I can get a job. Because if you can speak English, the tourists will pay you to be a tour guide, whatever, they don't care. And you can make a lot of money if you know English, a lot more than if you don't. So for them, that's a big thing, and just giving them that education and a place to live and getting them out of the situation they're in is what it takes to get them on their feet and save them from the sex slave industry. So that was really awesome. That part of that video is where we're clearing the land so that way they could open up another sunflower house, and that's where the pond and the fish was. The fish audio was hard to hear, but he was pretty much saying that by putting those fish in that pond, they're going to grow into bigger fish, and they'll be able to fish for their food, and they won't even have to pay for it, because they'll have free fish within the pond. So that way they can go fishing, catch a fish, and eat it for dinner, you know. And so we had a lot of opportunities along those lines just to bless these people and help them out a lot. And there's one story in particular that really means a lot to me. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture with me because I don't have my own copy. I'm hoping to get an emailed copy from someone soon. But there was a guy there named Ty, and he is 30 years old and suffers from cerebral palsy. And he's never walked a day in his life. And every day he sits by this lake in bags outside of the temple. And so we would go to this temple every day and do what we call prayer walking, where we pretty much walk through the temple and just pray. And he was always sitting outside just with his wheelchair and begging for money. And so one day we just stopped, we're like, you know what, we see you every day. We're going to stop and pray for you. So we stopped and we prayed for this guy, and he had like the most peaceful, calm look I've ever seen on anyone's face when we did. And like he just instantly just stopped and started looking around like as if he was normal. Like as we were praying, he's like, I've never felt this way before, kind of type thing. And that's just the look he had on his face. We didn't have a translator, so I don't know what he was saying. And it was hard to make out because cerebral palsy impaired his speech as well. And he just had the most peaceful look on his face.